So today I'm going to be sharing 5 book recommendations to get you back into reading. I used to be not really a big reader, but about a year and a half ago I started reading again and I have really been enjoying it, and I feel like I'm kind of on a roll now. So I thought I would just share some books that I've enjoyed or got me back into reading or just are good summer reads. So the first book I'm recommending is The Lies I Tell by Julie Clark. It is a domestic thriller and it is pretty thin. The text is quite large, so it doesn't take long to read. I felt like I liked the pace of the story. I also liked that I kept wanting to know more, and I was surprised by some of the twists that happened in it. It goes back and forth between Meg and Kat and their point of views, and it's basically about Meg, who is a female con artist, and then there's Kat, who's kind of trying to expose her. It's very much based in the ideas of like revenge and getting what you deserve. I like that I didn't find myself wanting to get back to the other person's chapter. I know in The Last Flight, which is also by Julie Clark, I kind of preferred one character's point of view over the other, but in this one I liked both of them and I empathized with both of them. So this book is perfect if you don't want to read a romance book, if you're more into thrillers. I wouldn't categorize this one solely as a summer novel, but nevertheless, I would suggest reading it. So my second recommendation is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. So this has received so much hype since it came out, and I totally support that. I think it is one of my favorite books that I've read. Obviously, it is a romance. It is very summery. It is kind of like a childhood friends turned romance trope. And it goes back between the present and the past of each summer. It is very similar to Love in Other Words. If you've read that book and you liked it, you probably will like Every Summer After. Personally, in between the two, I did prefer Every Summer After a little bit more, and that's just because in Love in Other Words there was kind of a weird twist at the end. If you've read it, you kind of know what I'm talking about. I think my favorite part about the novel was that it totally took me back to being in high school and being the age of the characters. I felt very nostalgic. It was super summery. Another thing is it is set in Canada, so it gets extra bonus points for that. I did read Mimi by the Lake, which is Carly Fortune's newest book. And personally, I actually didn't enjoy it, which is really sad. I think I had really high expectations since Every Summer After is one of my favorite books now, but I honestly almost wanted to stop reading the other one. My third recommendation is Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. I do want to first say that It Ends With Us is one of my favorite books as well, and that actually was the book that got me back into reading. My sister recommended it to me and she lent it to me, and I absolutely loved it. So Heartbones is the second book that I read by Colleen Hoover. Obviously, I would suggest It Ends With Us, but I feel like so many people have talked about it and everyone already knows a lot about it and the hype is up there. I mean, I think Heartbones is also popular and it is a really good book. So Heartbones is basically about a girl named Bea, and she is from a lower socioeconomic status background, and she goes to stay with her dad during the summer. And she meets Samson. So it is a romance novel. Obviously, we would expect nothing less from Colleen Hoover. It does have a little bit of a plot twist, which I liked. And I would say that Heartbones is my second favorite Colleen Hoover novel. I would say if you're trying to decide on a Colleen Hoover novel to read, I would definitely suggest Heartbones for the summer, just because it's based in the summertime. It's also a very easy read. I think I read it in like a couple days. I zoomed right through it, but yeah, I really enjoyed it and I would definitely recommend that as well. Fourth, I would recommend The Summer I Turned Pretty series. I'm a little bit late to the game with this one. I do want to say that I watched the TV series before I read the books, and honestly it didn't ruin it for me. I still found I enjoyed reading the books. These ones are definitely very, very simple reads, but they are nostalgic, enjoyable. Belly does get a bit annoying, but I enjoyed them nonetheless. These are perfect for beach reads if you want to have minimal commitment but still enjoy a plot and see a story progress. I personally liked the second book the best and the last book the least. I feel like in the last book the characters acted a bit out of pocket and just like things happened that I did not expect, and it was kind of random, but I still enjoyed it and I would still recommend them. You can definitely finish these in a couple days or a week like I did. So lastly, I'm recommending the book that I actually just finished yesterday, which is One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. I had a couple problems with the book in terms of like, I felt like the mother-daughter relationship was a little bit weird. Personally, I did like In 5 Years better, which is another book by her, but One Italian Summer was very like atmospheric with the descriptions of Italy. I felt transported there. And then I also had a problem with how it doesn't really wrap up at the end. You don't find out how she saw her mother like 30 years younger. There's no explanation as to if she like teleported through time or if she was just like dreaming the whole thing. It kind of just ends and you don't really know how to feel about that part. I also found it was kind of weird that I didn't feel like super sad even though the book was about grief. So that's why I would say it's kind of a lighter read and it's more summery and that it's very atmospheric in the setting of Italy. So those were my 5 book recommendations to get you back into reading. I also just want to say that reading preference is very different. Obviously it depends on what type of books you like to read. Personally, I do like romance books, so that's why a lot of them are like that. So I hope you found this helpful, and if you have any other recommendations for me to read, I would love to hear them. I have a huge list going and I would love to add to that. Bye!